What's up guys, Kyle here again, and today we are checking out the Spec from Diamond Amplification. Let's do it! Alright, hope you guys are doing great out there today. Let's shut this noisy thing off. If this is your first time here at my channel, my name is Kyle and this camera is way out of whack. Better. If this is your first time here at my channel, my name is Kyle, and what I do is I take awesome high gain amplifiers, overdrives, guitars, cabs, speakers, pickups. I record them with a simple SM57 setup, and I give you guys the unprocessed audio on your end. So if you're into E-standard thrash riffs, drop C hardcore riffs, dudes who repeat themselves and are constantly yelling, you're in the right place! Consider hitting the like button and subscribing on the way out so you don't miss any more of my stuff. Thanks! Alright guys, so today I have something on my channel that we have yet to check out. Many people have asked me if I have tried anything from Diamond Amplification, and my good buddy Luke Kramer has pestered me to death about getting a demo of this amp on the channel, and you know what? Today's the day. So Diamond Amplification is an amplification company based here in USA. That was such a bad sentence. But anyways, they are all custom hand-built amplifiers made here in the USA, as I've mentioned a couple times already. And I have always been really curious about Diamond stuff because it seems like from all the descriptions that I've read of their amps, they should be able to cover all the ground that a metal and hard rock player would require. And honestly, they have a little bit of a mystique to them because there are like no demos online of these things anywhere. There are hardly any YouTube playthroughs, there are hardly any decent videos of them being played, even sound clips. Like you don't hear much about them. And I always was really nervous to take a plunge on one of these amps because typically when you don't hear a lot about an amp, that means that nobody's really digging them all that much. So I have let many of these go by on the Guitar Center's used section, and finally this one popped up at a price that I was comfortable paying. So here it is in my little studio. We are gonna take it for a spin and see what it's capable of. Now the Spec is no longer made. I believe that this amp was kind of slightly modified or changed, and then they turned it into the Phantom. From what I could tell from this amp, it's supposed to be somewhat based around a Soldano SLO circuit with some obvious changes. There's some different switching and some other stuff built in that you're not gonna find in an SLO 100 or any of the other Soldanos. So we were on channel 2, which is the gain channel of this amp. There is a clean channel on this amp, but it also does get into overdrive once you really start to push that gain control on that channel. We also have a built-in boost here that boosts the clean channel and also boosts the volume and the gain on the gain channel or channel 2. So we will mess around with that a little bit. There's also some cool built-in switching on this where you can kind of switch between your volume and gain A and volume and gain B, which is a nice feature because if you want to switch from a rhythm to a lead tone, all you have to do is punch that in on the foot switch. We're not gonna really mess with that. Another thing I should mention is the effects loop on these. You've got an effects return control here. Basically acts as a master volume, and I guess pretty much all the Diamond amps are built that way. You want to patch the effects loop if you're not actually using effects through it so that you can use this as a master volume, as balancing the master volume and the channel volume is pretty necessary on these amps. If you don't, they get extremely loud, extremely fast. So you can kind of fine tune the volume with the effects return. And then finally on the back of the amp, there is also a bass focus control. It's got a low, a medium, and a high setting. So when the bass focus control is on low, that's where the least amount of bass seems to be prevalent. Put it on medium, seems like more bass and really more low mids are coming through, and when you put it on high, it seems like you're getting the most. So with all that being said, let's jump into some tones. For my guitar on this demo, I am using my Balaguer Typhon with the Duncan distortion in the bridge, and we were boosting the amp with the Electric Eye Mud Killer because this amp is a fatty and it definitely requires some tightening up if you want some tight and percussive tones out of it. So let's go ahead and turn off that boost. We are also going into my Mesa oversized cab here with the stock vintage 30s. Now this cab, even for a Mesa, is particularly on the dark side, which I really feel benefits this amp because this amp gets bright in a hurry. As you can see, I've got the treble dialed back. The presence doesn't seem to do a whole lot, kind of like the 5150. Doesn't seem to do much until you really get it above that 3 o'clock range, and then it really starts to make a big difference. So we'll put all these settings back to noon real quick, and we'll bring the gain down to 9 o'clock. We'll check out channel 1 first, so let's put everything on noon there, and we'll keep the gain low. All right, so let's check out channel 1 with no boosts in front. All right, so we're already starting to get a little bit of breakup from this clean channel. It's not ultra clean. Let's push that gain up to just above noon there. Very dirty clean right there, and up to 3 o'clock. All right, so there you have it. You got a little bit of dirt on this channel. I feel like it needs some more top end, some more middle. Let's take out a little bit of bass. All right, and let's add a little presence. Let's kick that onboard boost on and see what that does to this channel. Definitely boost the volume quite a bit. All right, so yeah, overall, I mean, it is what it is. It's kind of like a dirty, clean channel. Let's put a Boss SD1 in front of it and see what it does. Could definitely do the classic rock thing. Let's bump the bass up a little bit. All right, get a little bit more low end on that. So overall, channel 1 definitely does the classic rock thing. It does it pretty well. Seems to be lacking a little bit of punch. I am on the medium setting on the low focus. Let's push it into the high setting and see if we get a little bit more low end out of it. Okay, so that does introduce some more low end, but it also gives us more low mids, and I'm not really liking the voicing that it's putting on this clean channel. It's if you were gonna use it for a classic rock tone, it can definitely do that, but it kind of has a more of an American voicing, so a little bit more of like a Soldano crunch type thing going on than say like a Marshall Plexi. Sounds good overall, maybe needs a little bit more punch, but that's just my personal opinion. Let's go over to channel 2 and check channel 2 out, because that is why we are here, to get belligerent. I'm yelling again. All right, so we have disengaged the boost. I'm gonna put the low focus back to the medium setting. Let's put the gain at 9 o'clock. And let's see how everything sounds at noon. SD1 is off, and here we go. So as you can see, it's definitely a very raspy type gain. The top end on this amp is just very, very bright. I feel like rolling the treble back definitely benefits this thing. It does take away a little bit of the note clarity when you do so, but that top end is really bright, even on a dark cab like this Mesa. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and try to compensate with that by adding some presence. Let's get the highs dialed back up just a bit, and let's remove some presence. All right, so yeah, let's go ahead and get that gain pushed up a little bit. This thing does get into the high gain territory very quickly. All right, so this thing is definitely fat on the low end. Let's dial that bass back a little bit. Dial the mids up. It's really weird. It kind of has like that guttural low mid thing going on that it reminds me of a rectifier a little bit, but the top end frequencies are just really stringy and kind of abrasive. Let's turn the gain up a little bit more. Turning the gain up kind of seems to fill out the frequencies a little bit. It's definitely sounding a little better with the gain pushed to my ears personally. Let's go ahead and put that low focus on the lowest setting. And as you can see, it quiets it down a little bit by doing that. Let's turn the effects return up. All right, so it seems a little less bloated like that. Still has a pretty heavy low mid focus. Definitely a really heavy low mid focus again. Let's turn that bass up a little bit more. Pretty boxy midsection, a little bloated in the low mids. Let's turn the mids down and see how that affects it. Okay, so those low mids are definitely tied to that bass control. So let's dial the mids up. The distortion on the diamond, or the gain I should say, definitely very ragged, very like hard clipping type of sound. It's not a very smooth and pleasant saturation. It is very aggressive. Personally, I don't know that I'm a fan, and it could be really tied more into the way that the treble or the top end of this amp is voiced. But so far, I mean, I hate to say it, I'm not really digging the amp all that much personally. I'm wondering how it sounds onto the microphone on your guys' end, so hopefully it records a little bit better than I feel like it's sounding in the room. But again, this is my personal preference. Let's get that gain dialed up even more. All right, so getting a little closer. Here's a riff. At this point, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and start playing around with boosts because it's really fat. It kind of actually almost reminds me of a Diesel VH4, the way that the Overdrive is kind of crunchy and broken up, and it's got a lot of low mid fullness to it. So let's push this gain back on the amp. So we're gonna kick in the TS9 because most people are gonna be pretty familiar with how that Overdrive reacts with an amp. Let's see how it sounds with the TS9 in front. Immediately, I like that much better. Definitely took out a lot of the low end though. Let's push the low end on the amp. All right, so it's still just not tight, not fast reacting. The low mids are very bloated. Let's turn off the TS9. I'm gonna kick in the MXR M77 Overdrive. We're gonna pull that 100 Hertz back, and I'm going to turn the bump off to see if we can really control some of those low mids a little bit better. All right, so again, man, that top end is just not very pleasant to my ears. The MXR M77 definitely kind of tamed the low mids of the amp a little bit better than the TS9 did. Let's try the Walrus Ages and let's take all the bass out. Man, it just, the low end just has no punch to it. Let's go ahead, we've heard medium, we've heard low. Let's put the low focus on the high setting. The volume's gonna be higher, so I'm gonna have to adjust that down a little bit. That also seems to have smoothed out the saturation a little bit. It's kind of interesting. It seems a little bit smoother in the style of clipping. I don't know what's going on internally. It just sounds a little bit better like this to me, so. And by the way, guys, this is not a fast thrash metal amp. This is definitely like a hard rock or 80s metal thing, in my opinion, because the low end is not very tight. It's kind of slow reacting. It's big. It's got a little bit of sag to it. So I really feel like if you push the gain, which another note is the gain is kind of noisy on this amp. If you can tell in between my palm mutes and stuff, I'm getting a lot of noise, but this is definitely gonna be like a hard rock amp as opposed to a thrash metal amp. All right, let's take it down to drop C. Last but not least, let's try a guitar with EMGs and see if that helps smooth things out a little bit. All right, I have my Solar E-Series here with an EMG 85 in the bridge. Let's see how it sounds with the EMGs versus the Duncan Distortion in my Balaguer. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for me today on the Diamond Spec Op. What did you guys think? I don't love the amp, but I'm curious to see what you guys think down in the comments. Please let me know. So yeah, that is my take on it. I hope that you found this helpful. If you did, hit the like button on the way out and consider subscribing to my channel so you don't miss any more of my stuff. If you want to support the channel and what it is I do here, down in the description of this video, there is a Sweetwater affiliate link. You click that link and get yourself something nice from the fine folks at Sweetwater. I get a little kickback. It helps the channel grow. It costs you nothing extra, and I would greatly appreciate it. Or you could consider becoming one of these fantastic people by joining my Patreon community and supporting the channel that way. I would love you forever. And finally, consider becoming a member of the Belligerent Amateur community by joining my Discord server and my Facebook group in the description below. I always say it backwards. I kind of got it right that time. Kyle here again. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you guys next time.